you have a pillow and a blanket at least for a little bit?
Sandman handed me a 12-pack of Smokes and a few empty styrofoam cups to piss in.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Average Superstar TV. I'm your host, Lauren Lepre. Please give me that subscribe, boom, on YouTube, Spotify, Amazon, Stitcher, and iHeartRadio. And we've got one awesome show for you this week. This week, we are back into the wrestling world, and I am so happy to have this guest. This guy has been around the wrestling business for a long time. This is one of the guys who came from Eastern Championship Wrestling straight into E.C.W. Former television champion, former manager of the Pitbulls, former manager of Just Incredible and the Impact Players, also standalone wrestler himself. This guy ran a wrestling school. This guy's got a long history here. And with that long intro, I would like to welcome Jason Knight to Average Superstar TV.
Well, thank you. Great to be here.
Yeah, Jason, this is awesome. Thank you again for coming on. And I'm just way curious to find out what you've been up to. But like our great VCRs back in the day, I wouldn't mind hitting that rewind button and take us back to when did you even know you wanted to even become a wrestler, and where did that like springboard come from?
Well, it was back in 1968. And my mother and I lived with my father in London, England. So we used to watch it all the time. And then, I tried to play wrestling with my dad and everything. So I kind of knew that it was, realized it was very entertaining. And there was a certain amount of athleticism in it. And I've always been interested in sports and athleticism. And I always knew that someday I would love to participate. So
you growing up here on Bruno Sammartino, or is this even a little before him?
Well, I came to the United States in 1977.
Okay.
And they had a 30-minute wrestling show, the Worldwide Wrestling Federation, and it was on WOR Channel 9 in New York. And the reason I remember it because after that 30-minute wrestling show, they would have, I believe it was, that was pre-Chiller, it was Fright Night. My other favorite thing, horror movies.
So yeah.
They would show an old school horror movie after the wrestling show, and thankfully it was a Saturday night, so I could stay up late and watch both. So I believe that Superstar Billy Graham was the champion at the time, and then Bob Backlund after him, and then all the others.
Yeah. So is this around, okay, so it's 1977, and how many years before you decided to take a shot at wrestling? And I know like back in the day, compared to now, there was only so many wrestling schools you could go to. It was more limitation. So how'd that all transpire?
Well, it was actually 77 because I discovered that there were, let me see, I'm trying to put it as historically correctly as possible. I discovered that there was a small wrestling gym in an area called Ridgewood, New York. And they had a ring, which they had set up in a little bingo hall. uh, which belonged to a church. So it was actually a church slash bingo hall slash wrestling school. And I think I was like 14 years old.
Wow.
First started training, but it was basically um, amateur, professional. So it wasn't until 1980s that I decided that I really wanted to take it seriously. New York had the State Athletic Commission, and they were very strict. You couldn't get licensed as a professional wrestler unless you were trained by someone that meant something to professional wrestling. And that happened to be the unpredictable Odds, and later on it was Bobby Bold Eagle. So that's where it got more serious, and I was able to actually get a letter of recommendation from one of my trainers and get licensed by the New York State Athletic Commission.
That's
So,
amazing because I don't think it's like that anymore, right? It kind of seems like it's lax to do anything, right? You could start a wrestling school tomorrow, right? Is there anyone even to check in with?
I don't think so.
Yeah. Wow.
Died a long time ago. I'm,
One more time. What was that?
I said, unfortunately, I
Yeah.
think that that rule, that concept of true professionalism, and the commission looking after the performers and making sure everything is going right. I think that died a long time ago. Now anybody can put up a ring, train people, run shows, and call themselves a professional wrestler.
Which is completely wrong because wrestling, in a way, it is a choreographed stunt show and something could terribly go wrong. Something
Oh,
could terribly go wrong if you're not being trained properly.
at any time. I mean,
Yep.
accidents happen even with the best of the best out there because
Yep.
just the way it is. It's a physical, extremely physical sports activity, sports entertainment activity, sports nevertheless. Therefore, there are a lot more chances, a lot more room for error when it comes to those that are improperly trained or not trained.
Absolutely. So you're going through all this in the 80s. So obviously the two big dogs are the WWF at the time and the NWA at the time.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a giant list and a big roll line, like trying to get into a concert to get to those companies. I mean, what are you doing? Are you just, paying your dues and doing the indies and doing the best you could? Or did you have any leeway towards that? Or
Uh, well, pretty much when it comes to my WCW experience, my good friend Gary Capetta was in Florida, and I was going to be in Florida as well. And we decided we were going to meet up, and he said, "Well, do you want to come to our shows?" And I said, "Well, sure, I'll make all the shows." And I said, "Well, I guess I'll bring my gear just in case." And he said, "Of course, that goes without saying." And it just happens that the very first show, and that was, I think it was 87 or 88, and it was somewhere in Florida. I don't remember where it is. And I showed up, and one of the wrestlers couldn't make it. Uh, he, I guess he had some family obligations, and that's excuse me, the Cuban assassin Dave Sierra, and he was doing the loop with Mike Rotundo. So uh, Gary Capetta uh, got wind of the fact that they're lagging one body, one wrestler. And he says, "Well, I've got someone over here that," and Kevin Sullivan was, I guess, the agent and the booker at the time. He said, "Well, let me speak to him." And I went to speak to Kevin Sullivan, and I guess he, looked at me, and I, the part, and he said, "Well, do you have your gear?" I said, "Of course." He goes, "Well, run get it," and I did. I ran, and that was my first experience at a house show for WCW in front of a huge crowd. I mean, it was all packed to the rafters. And it was actually what they call the A card that featured you know, the Horsemen and Ric Flair.
Hell
Uh,
yeah.
yeah, all the big names. The Steiners were there, and oh, I mean, everyone that was like the A-lister was there. So I got to work that show, and I got to wrestle Mike Rotundo, and it was very interesting because I didn't see Mike Rotundo anywhere in the building, and I wanted to go introduce myself and ask him, you know, what he wanted to do.
Sure.
So when I finally met Mike Rotundo, it was, you know, that last ding ding because that first match was over. We were in the second match, and I'm standing at the curtain, and here approaches Mike Rotundo, and we only have seconds before you know, go through the curtain and you know, introduce myself, and you know, we do our hellos. Um, Anything in particular you want to? He goes, I'll call it out in the ring. Okay,
Yeah.
you know, for me, I know a lot of people probably would have been very nervous, but you know, I didn't allow myself to be nervous because you know, all that, all this kind of stormed in my mind within seconds. Well, first of all, you're trained. You know, this
Yep.
is this is me talking to myself. First of all, you're trained. Second of all, you're really going to um, find out whether you're made for this or not. Because, you know, if you can't follow direction from a veteran like Mike Rotundo in the ring, then you really don't belong here. And I didn't even know the finish. So I remember he went to the ring first. I went second, and obviously, you know, people were looking like, "Who are you?" So in any case, you know, all that can make you quite nervous, but you know, you just keep pushing on because I know what I wanted, and I knew that this was a test, and not only by others, but I was also testing myself to make
I
sure.
think you put yourself into a beautiful mindset. Like you looked at the situation, you knew what you wanted, you were trained, and you got pushed right in the pool. Basically the best way possible.
Yeah, because you know, if you begin stuttering um, and shutting down at that point, you might as well end it all right then and there. You know, because the best way to test yourself is under pressure, and I've always been that way. You know, and I always believed that. And like I said, I didn't even know the finish. You know, he didn't. We talked about absolutely nothing, not from a lockup, not from. So when I got to the ring, the referee walked by me. He said the finish is airplane spin. I said thank you, and Mike called everything, and you know we wrestle. I mean it's a house show, so probably you know good maybe 20, 25 minutes until he decided to shoot me off the ropes and call the airplane spin, and that was it. And then I was invited by Kevin Sullivan to, I guess, finish the loop and do TVs. And my first TV, it was another wrestler and I versus the Steiner brothers. So that was another honor, you know.
Awesome. That's great. So why you're here in WCW doing this skit? I'm just going to assume, fill us in. Is this where you met Paul Lee for the first time?
I think we've met
Okay.
before, here and there, but that's where we really kind of because somehow you knew all about me, so I know who you are, and you know I actually had this plan of managing you because we're both from New York and something, you know, and then you know we did travel together a bit, and you know he was always he was always very nice to me, and you know we always. Like I said, you know, we traveled together and we talked a lot about this and that. And he actually managed the would-be Undertaker,
Yes, Ming Mark. Yep.
that I wrestled on TV. So that was, and WCW was a great experience because I really got to wrestle the best, including that Undertaker, Sid Vicious, Vader. I was his first TV match when he had the big,
Big mask, yeah.
yeah, the hood, and he was really in his prime, and he actually just came back from Japan, and he was amazing to work with. Very physical, and just right there. So I was able to showcase my capability of selling and um, putting these guys over, including Michael Hayes, and then there was Ray Hernandez, who was the Super Invader, and then there was Ric Flair.
Man, that's a career right there. You wrestled the best of the best.
Yeah.
So that's great that you had that run and everything. So where's the transition to getting you into Eastern State, Eastern Championship Wrestling into the ECW? Where did that first come from?
I think it was like '92 that I wrestled in World Wrestling Federation, which is WWE now, but for me it'll always be the WWF.
That's what it is to me too, my friend.
Yeah, and I got to work with some amazing talent over there, and then again I got to wrestle Ric Flair, so I wrestled him in WCW and World Wrestling Federation, and then during that time in let's see, '92 to '93, I had an injury to my lower back, and I had two lower back surgeries, and I was actually supposed to be semi-retired from pro wrestling for about a year and a half or two, and that was in let's see, June or July of '93 when I had those surgeries, and then Paul Heyman calls me and says, we're doing this thing, Eastern Championship Wrestling, and I need you to come and work with Rocco Rock and Johnny Grunge, both great friends of mine who are no longer here, unfortunately. And I even told him, I said, Paul, I just went through a couple of major lower back surgeries. But, he kind of pressed. He's like, no, it's going to be okay. These guys. I'm like, wow, when is this? And he said it's going to be somewhere in October. I'm like, October. It's like I'm just literally on my feet, still kind of like walking like a robot. So I said, okay.
You're still in recovery.
Much in recovery, So I guess from June or July till October, there's not much time of recovery, especially from them opening up your lower back twice.
Yes. Yeah.
So, I took the booking, and then from there, he decided that because he knew I was injured, he decided to make me a manager until I guess at the time that I could recover and get back into shape and all that. So that kind of took off, and then from '93 till almost 2000, I was there.
Yeah, that's and what a ride that was for you. You're like one of my top questions for that. When did you realize that's the company that's on the rise? This is the one that has the spark. I mean, obviously not as big as WCW and WWF at the time, but you just know this is changing things. When did you know this was happening? Like the bar is being changed here.
I think that the first show, Ultra Clash, that I did, because I saw the energy that the fans generated, and I saw how hardworking the talent was. But I also realized that, right now, no one else is knocking on the door. So, you better consider this your own WCW or WWF, the Eastern Championship Wrestling, which of course transitioned to legendary E.C.W. Extreme Championship Wrestling. But I think a lot of us realized that, nobody else was really banging down our doors, and we wanted to make the best of it, and it was a combined effort of everyone, including our fans. They were just as instrumental in the rise of ECW as we were. So it was a perfect marriage right there. And
I've always said that the ECW fans changed wrestling because if you were to put on Monday Night Raw, it's like that crowd caught up. But I just think the ECW crowd originated what the fans are to today, being that involved. It really was a whole different era. What was going on there?
Yeah, it was like apples and oranges, night and day. I mean, let's say the arena could have, let's say, if it was 500 strong, it felt like you were wrestling in sold out Shea Stadium. That's what it felt like. I mean, every time you felt like you were on top of the world.
Yep. How was then? A lot of other wrestlers been asked this, but just curious your take. What was it like backstage watching Paul do his thing? How was he?
Magical. I mean, he has that power of being able to create some kind of a mass hypnosis. Paul was able to bring out the best in everyone, and he was able to help all the talent that needed it to hide their weaknesses or maybe even their inexperience, and then work on enhancing the positive qualities that they possessed.
He definitely had that. You've heard the stories over and over again. Did you also kind of know, like, he says one thing, but like could also kind of be a little bit of that snake at the same time of like not following up with what he says? Did the locker room kind of know it's like this is who he is? Don't take it personally.
Yeah, but I've ran into dozens of even experienced guys that came in and said, "No, man, I believe him, because he said this and he said that to me, and he all that positive hype." So, I mean, it's I even kind of got trapped several times into really believing, that hey, he really means it.
That's good.
I'm sure that there was a good part of him that meant it. Otherwise, he wouldn't have kept us around.
Absolutely. And
Paul had no problem letting go of someone that was potentially a thorn in his side.
Gotcha. One of the so you had all this outfit. You had like all these suits you always had to wear because you're Jason, the most sexiest man alive. Question: is that all you that had to supply or did you get to rent the suits? How did that work?
No, I just I purchased them and
kept the tags.
You'd be you'd be you can get some pretty cool stuff out there when you shop around, and it didn't hurt me my pocket a bit.
Okay, that's kind of curious. We do that in film a lot. We'll like buy clothes, but you keep the tag on, you shoot, and you take it back and return it.
Return it, yeah. No, I kept them, and I mean, some of them I wouldn't wear in public because they were just supposed to be kind of obnoxious. But
yeah.
I still have a lot of that's still in style, and it's in perfect mint condition, and wear it, like to a wedding or uh, God forbid a funeral, So,
Absolutely. So for a little while, there's a gap in the ECW of Jason, and then you pop back up with managing Just Incredible. What happened? What happened? What happened? Why'd you go away for a little bit? And then also, I guess a two-part question: how'd you come back?
well, those two times I decided to go to Japan because I was offered, and the first company was Wing, and Paul didn't appreciate that, and he kind of fired me, you know. So I went and wrestled for Wing, and I wasn't about to turn down Japan because that's basically everybody's dream. And
Yes, it is. And if they were taking care of you, well, you got to do what you got to do.
they really were, and I had a great time there, and I wanted to see Japan and kind of I've seen a lot of it because we did travel a lot over there. And the second time it was the same thing. I needed to go to Japan, and he got pretty upset about it because it was supposed to be this angle, between the pit bulls and the eliminators. So that's when we were running not so frequent, and they offered a good amount of money, and I said, Paul, I really need this money, and that's where Paul had that charm about him and said, "Don't go. I'll pay you whatever they're offering." And I was like, "Well, uh, it's like we're not under a contract. We're under what's supposed to be a gentleman's agreement, like a handshake type thing. I'm sure that you're not starving for money. I'm in a situation where I need to earn more. Therefore, even if you offer to pay whatever they're offering to pay me, per week, if I burn them, I'll never come back." And then, I figured, well, if I burn you, I may never come back. But still, I went with the Japan deal. Plus I didn't believe that he would just cough up that money in here.
You knew enough.
Yeah, here's some free money. Just don't go to Japan. And then I didn't want to do that because they promised quite a few trips, and money was really good. And we were traveling a lot, working a lot, but then we had days off as well. A day or two in between in the week where we could rest and sightsee and do all that cultural stuff.
So this is the first time when you stepped away for the Pitbull's Eliminator Wars, is what you're talking about, right? This is the second round when you left Just Incredible and all that behind.
No, 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 that was something different.
Okay.
No, the first time it was for Wing. The second time it was for Big Japan.
Okay.
And I made quite a few trips out there for them, and then let's see, then I came back and started doing a whole bunch of indies, and then I broke my ankle, and that ankle had to be replaced. So I was out for a little bit, and then when I was ready to come back, I went and visited E.C.W. at I forgot where it was. I think it was actually Wildwood, New Jersey.
Okay. At the convention center, maybe.
Uh, it was like an outdoor, almost looked like a rodeo.
Well, I don't know. I know there's a convention center there, but maybe. But anyway, yeah. So that was your way back in.
Yeah, that's where Paul kind of buried the hatchet, and he said, "What are you doing next week? Can you make it to to the arena?" And I said, "Yes." He said, "Well, how's your ankle?" I said, "Good to go." And that's where he had me hide under the ring. And then during the Mikey Whipwreck and Spike Dudley versus PG-13, it's like where I pulled Mikey under
Yep.
under the ring, and he comes out all bloody, and then you know it was the return of me, and then uh,
How long were you under the ring for? Like before the show?
yeah, I mean I was there. I had to be under the ring way before the doors open.
Do you have a
So
pillow and a blanket at least for a little bit?
Sandman handed me a 12 pack of smokes and and uh, and a few empty styrofoam cups to piss in.
Best arena ever, man.
Yeah. So I was there just drinking, smoking cigarettes, and you know I don't think I had to. I don't think I had to pee at that point. You know? I think you know I guess I didn't want to like sideways peel over myself.
I don't blame you on that one. It wouldn't be the greatest comeback with a piss stain on you, you know. But
Yeah. So, and I just remember it being really, really loud, and I remember saying to myself, "I'm glad I have this beer, because it's kind of calming me down, because it was so loud and it felt like the ring was just going to collapse at any moment." And I'm thinking and looking, and all these boards are moving, the beams. I mean, they're jumping up and down, and you can't really raise your head because it'll hit you on top of the head and kill you. And I'm like, if this ring collapses, I mean, I know that, you know, at least I can say I died doing what I love to do.
yeah, absolutely. So after you do this day, you make your comeback here. Was it already set for you to transition to managing Just Incredible, or did that kind of
No,
come?
no, he wasn't there yet. I managed PG-13, for a while they were there, and
Yep.
then managed Bobby Duncan Jr.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, and we actually ended up doing a lot of tag team together. So it was,
Yeah.
we worked well together, considering that he's so much taller and larger.
Yeah, yeah. He was a big man. Yes.
Yeah, big, very tall, and so we made it work, and then
Oh, go stay right here. Bobby Duncan. I mean, he obviously, God rest his soul, he checked out very early. But your time with him was? Did you guys gel? Did you guys get along great, like in and out of the ring?
I mean, he was just a wonderful, tremendous guy, and he was a good guy, and we both weren't altar boys. We like to hang out and party a little bit and all that. So uh, that worked out fine. So, meaning in and out of the ring, everything worked out fine. And then I guess they separated us, and I forgot something in between. I guess that's when Just Incredible came around, and I started managing him, and actually him and I did a lot of tag team matches, and it was usually versus Tommy Dreamer and Mikey Whipwreck.
It's safe to say, Paul got behind Justin. Like he made that happen. Like he pushed him to the moon, and I think it was a good idea having you there to help him because I think he was only 23 when he got there, right? About that. I mean, he was super young.
Yeah, I was very young. Yeah, and I was already well into my 30s.
That's yeah. And how did you and him gel? Like going through travel and everything. Did you guys get along great?
I mean, we didn't really travel together,
Okay.
and he had his he had his wife with him a lot, so they wanted their privacy. I had my girlfriend at the time, and I enjoyed her traveling with me, so we wanted our privacy. And then, once Lance came along, he was very loyal to Lance as far as traveling. So I never, it was, I think, I mean, we got along, but it was pretty much a business. We made it look like we're all, a close bunch, but we really weren't because, he, I think, Paul kind of got into his head, and I think that Justin, he he held himself like above, like he was better, because I mean, I can feel it, and it's not like I want to hurt his feelings or anything like that. I really think that's how I feel. That's how I felt, and I was like, okay, I mean, we'll work, and we'll do our thing, and I think that that's a part of why I started getting a little bit miserable toward the middle and the end, because I started not enjoying going to work. I didn't like my position. I loved when I was put out there to wrestle, and one of my greatest achievements was when I actually got to wrestle Jazz, because she came in and she was very nervous. She was very green, very new to the business. I believe Rodney as well, because we all trained together and try to make it happen, and we made it happen. In fact, you know, a good feature match on the pay per view, and I think what the people expected, and even the talent in the back, and I think even Paul and Tommy and all that, they expected us to kind of have that comedy routine, and I was like, Jazz knew that we were not going to do that, so we kind of not secretly, sort of privately worked out a match where it was going to be an athletic competition between a man and a woman, but the woman wins. So uh, I think that she gained a whole lot of confidence because all those moves that she was performing and executing on me, I want her to do that. I said, you're going to do this, you're going to do that, and you are going to slam me, you are going to put me on your shoulders and drop me back. You're going to do these things because I know you can. You made me nervous because she was kind of nervous. We had a bunch of warm up matches on some house shows, and they weren't so good. And that's when I believe, not to cut you off, but that's when I believe that Jazz realized what she had in her. And I'm not saying that it's because of me, but because of the confidence that she gained, and she realized that, hey, you know, I can definitely be a focal point in this business, as far as the women's division, very respected. Jazz is, she's a legend.
That's great. And yeah, you're right. Absolutely. And I know you were just said before you got into this, you said that they were looking at it maybe to be more of a comedy. Did Paul, like, was he like, what are you guys doing? Like that you're being too serious? Or did he kind of just ride it out and say, all right,
No, because when we got back to the locker room, you know, some some jaws dropped because that was really Jazz's first real match. Like I said, she was nervous, and it made me not as limber, kind of like had to guide her through it. Uh, Again, our house show matches were not so good, but I knew that, and she even said, Jason, I don't know, pay per view, live pay per view. I said, well, you know what's going to happen, Jazz? we're going to hit it and hit it right. I hope so. I hope you're right. I said, I know I'm right. And I know that, in the meantime, she just kept training and training and, developed her body into an extremely athletic young lady, um, looked the part, and came in, with that music and all that, with the confidence. And I said, I knew, I just knew we were gonna get him.
So this is a positive for you. You're happy that you're helping build her up and everything. So trying to think of this 80, maybe 99-ish, but my question is the writing on the wall? Are the checks bouncing? Is the company, are you getting paid, or what? I'm just kind of curious what era we're at here. Is this kind of getting towards the end?
Yeah, towards the end, they were bouncing. I always managed to get. I always managed to get him to pay me, and I also asked him to pay for all the penalties for all the checks that I wrote against his check. And even though he was like, "You're going to make me pay your penalties," I said, "Well, yeah, you caused it."
Yeah, I would hope so. Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of I found that to be ridiculous, and uh, I know that I'm owed a lot of money for pay-per-views as far as the bonuses, because we're supposed to get pay-per-view bonuses, and we were promised. Never happened. And then, I know there was some merchandise and those video games, and
Yep.
any of it. So, I'm just happy that all the checks that bounced, that, he repaid me for it. But yeah, that's about the time that, the writing on the wall was there.
So I guess where I'm at is like, how are you particularly, between, I don't know if you own a house or you rent and all that, but how are you getting up and down the highways even to pay for gas and the whole like I just know I've heard so many stories between you and all the other boys, all that, but I'm just kind of curious, taking us back to that era of your life, because there's that whole thing like, this is ECW. You still are on TNN, even if they're not pushing you. You're seen. Do you have a place to go versus, wow, I have so much debt? Like, what's it like trying to balance all that?
Well, the only way was, you know, you keep writing checks to pay for this and that. They keep bouncing, and then the penalties come in, and then the next time when he makes good on the checks, I ask him to pay, or pretty much demand that he pays the penalties. So I pay the penalties, and then we're like back to square one, and it's almost like we're recycling piss water.
Yeah.
You know, somehow, I mean, uh, we were surviving, and somehow at the same time we're willing to stick with the company, because he's BSing everyone and saying, "Oh, it's not that, it's something."
So
So he knew exactly what he was doing.
So I'm curious with, I mean, I know he's this amazing talker backstage and would have you all hyped up and everything. Curious, that last era though, because if there's one thing that's going to make people change their mind, it's when you're hitting them in a pocket. So when he's up there doing like, what is he doing? Just saying like, please hang on, everything's going to be taken care of, and we're this close. Is that just like a daily? Is he doing something like that? Is it just like a weekend speech, and then you're at the next weekend, and like,
I
is
think
that all he's really doing? Is everyone kind of getting a little more of like, should I try to jump here, but yet I love being here at the same time? I mean, it's got to be a rough balance.
I think before any of that, um, before any of that happened, I think I was already gone. I think I was already gone. Because and
Is
I
this because you went back to Japan, or did you just say it was over?
no, I didn't. I didn't want it to be over, but it was something very, very personal. That and all. stopped getting booked, but he wouldn't release me from my contract, so I couldn't go work anywhere else.
Yeah.
And by that time, I already had my first wrestling school and started running my shows, and it was doing pretty well. So this way it was like I remember even Joel Gertner, coming over to the house and saying, you're actually lucky that you're not there. And I'm like, I miss it. He's like, no, you're lucky you're not there because no one's getting paid, and they're just um, spinning their wheels, and that's the way it was, because I think that several Paul's buddies self, and meaning buddies like wrestlers, and that the they all knew what they were doing. They knew that it was going to fold, but they also knew that there were more, bigger and better things that were going to work for the WWF, and uh, they're going to be successful. And they were only thinking of themselves. They think of number one, and they, essentially, nobody really gives a rat's ass about anyone else. They'll tell you they do, but they don't. Very few and far between.
Sounds like the film business.
Yeah, yeah.
but
And I'm
but
not saying it in some kind of vengeful matter, where or jaded or anything like that. It is what it is. I mean, it's like if somebody gets mad, so be it. Kiss me down below because everybody knows, it's the truth, and but nobody wants to hear it.
absolutely. So what when you actually got the word ECW is officially folded and gone? I mean, what's your original reaction? Are you do you just knew it was coming? I mean, like, wow, that was a great era of my life. I'm sad it's gone.
I mean, it was I think combination of everything, because I think there was one pay per view, I think one last pay per view, and then that big speech that we're done and all that. It was very disappointing. Because I was hoping that it wouldn't, and I was hoping maybe he'll reconsider and bring me back again, because I think if it kept going, I would have been back again. Because Paul always brought me back. I mean, I never did anything so terrible that I deserve to be considered burning that bridge permanently.
Hear you on that one. So that they go down, WCW falls down, and you have your own company going at the time, right?
Yeah, just a small company that was pretty instrumental in New England area.
That's great. So my question: were you? Was there any talks of getting into the then WWE when it turned into everything? Like when everybody jumped, it just had to have been a lot harder, right? Because all of a sudden there's hundreds of wrestlers on the market.
Yeah, I mean, there was always hopes. I did one show, a TV taping for TNA, and that didn't really. I didn't really care for that whole scene. It was a great product, but I didn't. It wasn't the same locker room. It wasn't the same style. It wasn't the same aura. Uh, Absolutely not the same atmosphere. And I think that a lot of them that were devoted to that, what was that, NWA, that TNA product. Well, I call it TNA, but at that time it wasn't TNA. It was, I guess, just NWA.
I think it was called NWA TNA, which makes no sense. It's just too many letters.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know. I know that like the only time I was there was the very night that Styles defeated Jarrett for the world title, and that was the only time I was there. And I was supposed to actually get there and you know, like wrestle singles and all that, but they put me in a tag team match with some guy, and it was him and I forgot his name, some guy from Florida, and it was him and I versus Sonny Siaki and Mike Sanders, and I just remember first 5 seconds of the match. You know, my partner got completely knocked out by Siaki. So, you know, I finished the match, and that's about it. So,
Is there one moment that if you could go back to ECW and if Paul Heyman was like, Jason, what do you want to do tonight? I mean, every wrestler or manager has that. Like, this is what they got for me, but this is what I would love to do. Do you have that moment?
yeah, the moment is, you know, to for him to say, you're no longer a manager. You know, we're gonna have you wrestle. You know, just you know, because he actually did that to me one time, and I think it was in Florida. And he said, you know, I know you're miserable doing this, and you know, I'm going to give you like 8 weeks off, and I'll pay you, and all you need to do is just, you know, train, and you know, that's. And I'm like, I am training, and you know, if you give me time off, fine, I'll get into even better shape. And then he claimed that he wanted me to come back, and for me to be like just complete singles, uh, just. Just to wrestle. He said, "Yeah, you know, we're gonna have you say, you know, I know I did all that, but that wasn't the real me, and here I am, you know, and kind of like kick ass and all that." I said, "Well, I'd love to do that, you know," and you know, I told him, I said, "I don't care, you know, whether you put me over or whether you make me um, do jobs for the up and coming talent or help these young people out." But I am going to go out there and, you know, I'm not just going to give to them. You know, they're going to have to earn it. So, because, you know, he knows that I love to wrestle and I can. Um, that probably would have been something that if he had kept that promise, I would have been happy. You know, because I didn't want to be, you know, in a group of people, you know, because at one time the Impact players, it had like, you know,
Yeah, there was like 6 of you at one point. It just kept going.
that was like ridiculous. You know, nothing meant anything. You know, and I think that let's say Impact players, it should have consisted only of Credible, Lance, and Del Marie, and that's it. You know, those three were gold.
They were.
But once you know, put me in the mix, it was like, you know, Bill said, "Oh, you know, you meant nothing. You mean nothing." So I know that. I know that. You know, what do you think? You know, how do you think I feel?
Yeah.
Oh, you know, and then, you know, people constantly, oh, you're Jason. He was a waste of space and all that. So you don't have to remind me of that. You know, I again, how do you think I feel? You know, but you know, people misconcept a lot, and people think they know, um, but they actually know jack shit. So
Absolutely.
things they.
So, yeah. So, yeah, I know after that ECW falls, you have your company for a while, but I mean, overall, Jason, where you been?
Oh well, let's see. Uh, Semi dead, or and
Well, you've been out of the business, right? For a while, and I know you got some announcements of some things you're actually coming back and everything. But did you just need that time off, or were you soul searching? Were you on to other things? Where you been?
I think I just I don't know. It's like I felt like The Walking Dead, you know, like it nothing really mattered. You know, it was like, and it's not you know, I just want to make it straight. It's not due to any any drug use or anything like that. It was just all in here and in here, you know. And then when I came back up north and kind of restarted my Facebook and started making contacts, and promoter, my friend Eric Sims, contacted me and asked me if I would like to do the Legends show. And I said, sure, I have nothing else to do. So I think you're going to do pretty well. People haven't seen you in a long time. And I was like, well, under my breath, I'm like, well, thanks for trying to make me feel better. But, I think, I'll sign a few autographs, and if I make a little money, great, but something to do. And all of a sudden, it turned out that, I was a very busy man um, during the Legends show, and did that uh, virtual signing as well. And all of a sudden, uh, got a contact that we want to make you part of the Pitbull Mad Dogs of War faction, and I'm very happy with that. So we're going to.
So you're back with that. So you're actually back with Gary Wolf, and then there's Pitbull number 3, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. And you guys are now a unit again, and you're doing indies.
Yeah, we have plans in the future, and I think we're gonna incorporate kind of like revive Assault Championship Wrestling, and I think it will go under that banner.
That's great. And then what are your thoughts on the indies today? Are they too soft?
Well, I've only seen that one show that I happened to be at, and that that was not. That was like I don't know. I think that's not even worth public access, and it's a shame because when you have a show featuring Gary Wolf or CD, some of the other younger talent. Amoroso, and I guess I could say myself, and you're not able to do anything with it, then, you just need not be in the business. But we're not even going to honor that. I'm just, I honestly wouldn't know because I haven't followed wrestling in a very long time. I hear about this one and that one and this show and that show. I will have to go to more shows in order to be able to make that judgment. However, I hear from others, my friends that are professionals that have been around, that I've known for a long time, that it needs to improve or else.
Gotcha. So you guys are between the whole Pitbull crew there, and you're looking to like maybe start your own company. Is that what you guys are trying to do?
Yeah, I believe that it's safe to say.
That's great. That's great. And you also are doing a show called Horror Graveyard.
Yes. Yes.
Tell us about it.
Well, that's going to be your good friend and mine, along with me. Nadia Steele and I. We are going to. What are we going to do? Are we going to talk about it or just kind of like
You're going to be reviewing old horror movies? I think that's what you said?
Yeah, we'll be reviewing some of the more obscure horror films, that are, some are so great, they're great. Some are so bad, they're great. But, a lot of the ones that they've not been seen by many, and should be seen. So, I've always been more a fan of those obscure films, that are, and when I say horror, it's not just blood and guts, but it's also that psychological terror.
Yeah, thrillers, stuff like that. Yeah, it's all under one banner. And I believe you're going to be appearing at New Jersey HorrorCon coming up in March.
Yes, and I think it's going to be Angel Amorosa and I.
Yes.
Yes, and we'll be appearing there, and hope to see everyone.
And that will be at the Showboat. I think it's the last weekend of March. Is that right, Nadia Steele?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Sweet, sweet. All right, coolness. So, Jay, this is the fun part of the show where I call it 10 rounds, okay? These are some questions between wrestling, music, pop culture, and film. And I think you're a perfect candidate for this. So, it's a little mix of everything. Question one: where was your favorite place to wrestle?
My favorite place to wrestle, well, it has to be the E.C.W. arena. I mean, it just has to be because, well,
It changed wrestling.
yeah, exactly. I mean, I think it's obvious why, because it's something that we all help create, and right along with those great fans.
Wait, who is the one wrestler that you believed in your eyes this person was going places and it just what happened?
I'd have to say Dave Cash. Yeah, because he just had that it factor, and I didn't really, not that I didn't know who he was, but I've never seen him until he came to the E.C.W. and then he showed a hell of a lot. And
Oh, he sure did. What was your favorite band of all time?
hard to tell, but probably Alice in Chains.
Great one. Yes. And I only saw them once. I really hate that I couldn't have saw them with Lane Stanley. Not that the new singer sounds bad, but I just wish I could have saw that original lineup. Cool, cool. And your favorite album of all time?
Oh, my favorite album. I'd have to say Dirt.
Look at that. Sticking with the Alice in Chains. That's a great album. I've always said it's a WrestleMania fight. What's the better album, Facelift or Dirt? And I can't make up my mind.
Hard to,
Yeah, they're just so good.
But-
Good. What's the one band you go to bat for that when you say this band, everybody kind of rolls their eyes like you like them, but to you, you just love to go to bat for them. You think they're great.
Shinedown.
Okay. All right, and now we're switching over to acting. Who's your favorite actor of all time?
Rod Steiger.
Okay, that's nice. Is that just something that hit you up when you were a kid? Like, you just felt drawn to?
I believe so. Just, I mean, overall,
Yes.
I have to say Rod Steiger, because he was a leading man without needing to have the looks of a leading man, if need be. If you put Rod Steiger in a situation where he has to pull it off, he could. Only because he had certain ways about him where he had that versatility, and just that almost like that rude, sarcastic way of delivery that was attractive.
Gotcha. What's your favorite flick of all time?
Jaws.
Great choice. Great. I believe that's Quentin Tarantino's favorite film of all time too. He thinks it's like the absolute perfect film. How about and I know you're one that values the past too, like I do. What's your favorite black and white film?
Psycho, or would it be Mutiny on the Bounty?
Oh, I dig it. I dig it.
Or would it be what is it? Lifeboat.
Oh wow.
I'll go with Psycho.
Great choice. And I always said Anthony Perkins is one of the best performances I've ever seen. His body language. He was this. People are so blown away over that story that I think his acting gets overlooked. The same way I think when you say the Rocky Horror Picture Show, everybody thinks of the songs. I'm just like, Tim Curry knocked it out of the ballpark.
Exactly.
I mean, his bot. Oh, just then again, he got to play the role about 300 times before that. So I mean, he got to fine tune it. But right, what I love your choice. What's the one film that you go to, just like in the music? What's the one film that everybody says, why would you like a film like that? But you go to bat for it.
Nighthawks.
Yes. Yeah. Wow. I didn't expect that one coming yet, but I know what you're talking. I remember renting that.
Yeah.
Great flick.
I'd have to say Nighthawks.
Awesome. And the final question, who is your favorite person from history, currently living or deceased, that like when you hear about this person, you're just immediately drawn to it? You just soak up all the info about them.
Tito.
Tito.
Yes.
Elaborate.
Yeah. Tito, Joseph Broz Tito. I'm from former Yugoslavia originally, and he was our president from, well, let's see, the time of the World War II until he died in 1980, because he was the chosen one, and he was a hero and a nobleman, a champion of peace, and but had an extremely strong hand. You know, he was the epitome of all goodness that I remember in my childhood and my teenage years. Yes, President Tito.
That's great. And I'm a person, the reason I asked that question is I always love learning more about history. So honestly, I could say I'm not too affiliated with this person, but it's just someone I'm going to probably look up right when this podcast is over and do some research on, because I just think it's always good for everyone just to know as much history as possible. It matters so much going through life.
And world history.
Yep.
Yeah.
World history, definitely. But Jason, if you, I thank you so much for coming on to the show. I don't know if you had any other plugs or any way of anyone could get a hold of you if they want to use it for anything.
Facebook. Facebook, huh?
Your official page.
Yeah, the official page, my Facebook, and it's one and only, and that's where I do the little 30-second video.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's the one.
Sweet. And then the end of March, you will be appearing at the New Jersey HorrorCon, that's just at the Showboat in Atlantic City.
Yes.
You have that coming up. And I thank this audience once again for stopping by and checking out Average Superstar TV. Please hit that subscribe button on YouTube, Spotify, Amazon, Stitcher, and iHeartRadio. Jason, Nadia Steele, I thank you so much for stopping by.
We appreciate you very much.
Absolutely. I hope the E.C.W. heads really enjoyed the show. Feel free to share it. And with that, I will say the party is over.